2002, the year that Spider-Man first hit the big screens. We lost animation legend Chuck Jones. We had our first American Idol. Not that I watched it, but it was inescapable at the time. And despite the PlayStation 2 being out for 2 years at this point, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 released on both of Sony's consoles at the time. Ginger Wolf here again. Long time, I know. But finally, here we are. As I stated today, we'll be looking at Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 and see if this late PS1 release was good enough to keep its owners satiated. Truth be told, I don't have many memories of this game. Closest I got to playing it was on a jam-packed PS2 demo disc. Remember those? I played Tony Hawk's Underground, but I skipped over Tony Hawk 4. I was just as surprised as some of you probably are to learn that there was a PlayStation 1 version at all. So what are the differences? Is one version better than the other? Was this 2002 release good enough to keep the then 7-year-old PS1 afloat? Let's take a look. Quick reminder, here on Video Game Life Support, I compare cross-generational releases that came out around the same time to determine whether that older generation by that game should pull the plug, be sustained, or that older generation had the better version. So without further padding, let's look at Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. Let's begin with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 on the PlayStation 1. This version was released the same day as its PS2 counterpart, October 23rd, 2002. Since the team at Neversoft were busy with the next-gen version, development for this one was done by Vicarious Visions, who would later port Tony Hawk games to the Game Boy Advance and breathe resurrection into the Tony Hawk franchise just last year with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. So this should be good, right? Right? The first thing that you'll notice about this version of Tony Hawk 4 is that the game is still running on that Tony Hawk 2 engine. What's the best way I can relate this? Anybody have one of those K-Cup coffee machines? Okay, try to imagine using the same pod for 3 cups of coffee. The first is the most rich, the second is less, but it's still alright. The third is very watered down. All the pro skaters return, except Bam, who got put under more skaters. Oof. Double flips and double tap grabs are finally implemented from the PS2 Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3. As I noted before, levels are now open world, but on this version it seems like you're playing in a cage. Like Tony Hawk 3 before it, the PlayStation 1 version doesn't have any NPCs. Objectives instead are given by these floating tokens that can be a real pain in the ass to activate. Why? Because when you're close to one, an on-screen prompt instructs you to press the O button to start them. What the game does not tell you is that you need to be at a complete standstill to properly activate them. If not, nothing happens. It may not seem like much, but it can get really annoying to have to stop and make sure you're lined up just right to play more of the game. Levels have barriers as well. You'll know if you're getting close to the edge of a level when there's nothing but an empty street and walls. Respawning from these isn't so smooth either. Okay, to give credit, most levels are decent PS1 recreations of their PS2 counterparts, but they just feel bare bones. I mean, at least the levels in the PS1 Tony Hawk 3 had moving set pieces, so the levels there felt a little lively. Every level has the same set of objectives though. You see a lot of get a high score and find 5 of this item. More annoying is that every level now has a competition, which means, that's right, get more high scores. I get that this version had limitations, but there's very little variety here. Yes, I'll do that. Again. Oh boy. Thank God for a cheat that lets you complete any current goal. I want to list another thing that kept me from really enjoying this version. This game is buggy as hell. Lip tricks get angled, causing you to bail upon landing. Vertical grinds. Sometimes you get stuck in the air. There's also very little done for immersion. If you fall into water, there isn't even a splash noise. Listen. Even Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 had a noise for that. There are unlockables in this game, but before I talk about those, I almost forgot to tell you about another feature this game has. When you've completed enough goals, you'll get pro-specific challenges. As the name suggests, you'll only be able to do it with that specific pro skater on that specific level. But guess what most of these are? Go on, guess. If you said high scores, guess what? You're right. Why would it be anything else? Ahem. Getting back to the topic at hand, as you complete pro goals, you'll unlock cheats such as perfect balance, moon physics, always special. You can also unlock a skater after completing 4 of these. Yes, a skater. So who is it? PS1 Pro Skater 2 got Spider-Man. Pro Skater 3 got Wolverine. 4 gets Little Person. Oh boy, my favorite. Yeah, he's creeping me out as well, guys. But hey, now Bam has a little buddy joining him in his roster. So there's that. Does this game have any unlockable levels? Yes. If you complete, or cheat, all 100 level goals, you get Little Big World. It's a level where your skater gets shrunken down to the size of a mouse, and you skate all over a kitchen counter. Yeah, grind that toast. It's not a bad level per se, but is it worth suffering through every single goal? No. No, not at all. Not even if you cheat. It's really hard to believe that the same developers that gave us Tony Hawk's 1 and 2 remastered would put out a game that wouldn't be suitable as a mobile game port. Well, let's see if Neversoft had better luck. Released also on October 23rd, 2002, Neversoft returned to the developer's seat to give us something a little bit different. Just like the PlayStation 1 version, levels are open world and you must complete tasks to unlock more stats and levels. Unlike the PlayStation 1 version, objectives are given by NPCs and pro skaters from the roster.
Hey, what's up, man? I got lucky with this score. Let's see what you can do.
They are much better skaters. In the PlayStation 2 version, it adds new tricks exclusive to this next-gen version. You can sketch on cars like Marty McFly in Back to the Future, spine transfer. There's also manual, lip, and grind extensions. Pretty cool stuff. Like in the previous game, stats are distributed as soon as you collect them and end your run. There are still similar goals as the last game, like before: scores, skate, specific tricks, and the new goals like combo. There are also some creative goals specific to each level now, like leading an escaped lion back to its cage in an English zoo, tagging shipping crates in a shipyard by doing a trick on each one, and committing assault by knocking 30 tourists into the lovely San Francisco waters at Alcatraz. Yeah, if we were getting edgy in Tony Hawk 3, we're now heading into Jackass territory.
Did you ever think the last word you were gonna hear would be... Hello, butt nuggets?
No, not that far just yet. That's about 2 years later. There are also trick challenges that can be a bit difficult. And no, there isn't a beat the current challenge cheat in this version. Yes, I know I should get good, but some of these are just awkward. You want me to do what? Thankfully, there's still the retry current goal option here on the menu. So again, it's not too bad. Pro-specific goals are more related to real-life achievements done by the pro skaters. For example, Bob Bergenquist has to complete tricks through a separated loop that gets further and further away, similar to something he did in real life, as the game tells you. Kareem Campbell has to do street tricks between San Francisco rooftops. And Bam Margera has to race down the Alcatraz Hill in a shopping cart while dodging hay bales. Once again, we're going back into Jackass territory here. After all of these and most of the basic goals are done, more difficult pro goals are unlocked. Frankly, by this point, I was kind of burned out on Tony Hawk, and I didn't feel like playing through the game again. Unlockables are handled differently in this version of Tony Hawk 4. Instead of unlocking cheats and unlockable characters by completing goals, you get money for goals in this version, and you use that money to buy it from an in-game shop. You can also find money just lying around the map, or you can just unlock everything by cheating again. So what can you unlock in this version? Well, for starters, way more than you can in the PS1 version. Unlockable skaters include Jango Fett from Star Wars Episode 2, who can break the game with his jetpack, Iron Maiden zombie mascot Eddie, and Daisy, who's a cross between Daisy Duke and Jenna Jameson. Yes, that Jenna Jameson. For levels, you can buy and unlock a Carnival and the Chicago level from Matt Hoffman's Pro BMX 2, which the game will definitely make sure you know on its loading screen. The Carnival level reminds me a lot of carnivals that I saw growing up. You can grind roller coasters, take fun photo ops, and ramp up carny games. It's an interesting level to say the least, but to me it doesn't scream reward for playing through the game. Looking at the Chicago level, well, to be honest, I've never played Matt Hoffman's Pro BMX 2, so I don't really have a whole lot to say here, but looking at videos for comparison, I can say that this level is just that level from that BMX game. I can't say that I was too impressed with this level, because to me it just felt like another level in this game. Did anyone by chance play Matt Hoffman's Pro BMX 2 before playing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4? If so, what did you think of one of its levels appearing in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4? Let me know in the comments below. Now that we know how both versions are, let's stack them against each other and see how they compare. Well, for one thing, the PS2 version isn't really buggy. Okay, that was cheap, But for real, if in 2002 you spent $40 to $50 on this, you'd at least expect a working product. How does the gameplay compare? Well, since the PS1 version still uses the Tony Hawk 2 engine, my complaints about the stiff movements from Tony Hawk 3 apply here as well. Watch how difficult it is to pull off a 900 in the PS1 version. Damn it! Son of a bitch! Now look at the PS2 version. So much easier. As for the atmosphere, the PlayStation 2 version is more lively, with NPCs and vehicles moving all around the map. In the PlayStation 1 version, streets are empty, and if there are any vehicles, they remain stationary. Looking at the main levels, the PlayStation 1 version is missing the zoo, but we got the superior sewers levels in its place. The zoo on PS2 is a bit of a mess. If your skater lands in an animal space, they end up getting mauled and respawn. Logical? Yes. Fun? No. Also, I feel like this goes without saying, but levels on PS2 are much larger than the ones in PS1, like the PS1 version of Tony Hawk 3 before it. What's a Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game without an excellent soundtrack? But unfortunately this time around in either version, I found that I wasn't really jamming with many of the selections. To give the game credit, there are bangers like AC/DC, Flogging Molly, and NWA, but none of the selections are anything that'd be at the top of my playlist. In my opinion, 4 is one of the weaker soundtracks of the series. I wish I could play you some of the selected tunes, but YouTube would be on me like bees on Nicolas Cage's face.
No, not the bees! Not the bees! Ah! Out of my eyes! Eyes! Ah!
So I linked a playlist in the description below so you can judge for yourself. We know how the main games play, but what about the other features? How do they compare? Let's start with the two staples of the series since the second game. We'll begin with the character creator. On PlayStation 1, it's exactly the same as it's been for the last 2 games, and just as limited as they were. The PlayStation 2 version gives more options, but by today's standards it could seem limited as well, but at least it's not the PlayStation 1 version. You can also buy more clothes, hats, decks for your skater from the Unlockable shop. As you can see, I decided to update the Ginger for this version of the game. In the PS1 version, you can only give your skater 3 special tricks. In the PlayStation 2, you can give your skater up to 7 special tricks. Moving on to the park editor. To summarize it, the PlayStation 1 version took out some features from previous games. They got rid of the lava and water traps, for example. The Punji Pit's still in there. The PlayStation 2 adds more stuff to trick off of, like restrooms. Surprisingly, the PlayStation 1 version gave more options for backgrounds. The PS2 version only has 2 that you had to switch from the main menu. Doing this has the park editor load up again. Lovely. This time around, I didn't want to make a park o' death. I wanted to see how well I could recreate a real skate park, so I chose one that I knew about, Lawton Skate Park in Fort Wayne, Indiana, which actually has ties to the Birdman himself. That's right, not only did Tony Hawk donate $25,000, top donation, but he, Bam Margera, Mike Valley, and Ryan Sheckler skated it in the mid-2000s. Unfortunately, I wasn't as cool as this kid.
Skip school just for this amazing event.
So I missed it. So how well was I able to recreate this park? On PlayStation 1? I think to say bad would be generous here. This engine is just far too restrained to accurately recreate this work of art. How about the PlayStation 2? Well, it's better this time, what with being able to change the ground level. But just like the PlayStation 1 version, I filled up the allotted space percentage and really couldn't do any more with this. What about other features? Well, unfortunately there's really not a lot to talk about here. Both versions feature FMVs that can be unlocked by doing pro-specific challenges, and a 2-player mode, which I skipped. Sorry. The PlayStation 2 version features a demo of Sean Murray's Pro Wakeboarder, which was later renamed to Wakeboarding Unleashed, featuring Sean Murray. But that's a story for another time, and unfortunately I couldn't get to work on my PS3 anyway. But enough fluffing around, let's get to why you clicked on this video. Let's take a look at the verdict. Once again, I'm going to be honest here, I really didn't care much for either version of the game. But in 2002, would Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 be a viable purchase to keep PS1 owners satiated? I give the PlayStation 1 version of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 the verdict of pull the plug. Keep in mind, the PlayStation 1 was released in 1995 here in the States. It was old even in 2002. Most people I knew had a PS2 by then. It's not even worth it to have Tony Hawk 4 on the old console like its predecessor. It's buggy, frustrating, and it doesn't have unlockables worth the effort to unlock them. The game feels similar to a modern mobile port. You know the ones, those quick cash-ins based on a console game that was slapped together for a quick buck? Yeah, those. Thankfully, Vicarious Visions would redeem themselves as I mentioned earlier, but they'd get their chance even earlier than that. Maybe I'll make a video on that. Keep tuned. Well, that was a doozy. Hopefully we'll have more fun with whatever's next. But hey, if you liked the video, please hit that like button and the subscribe button as well. And if you'd like to know exactly when I upload a new video, hit the notification bell. If there's anything you'd like to see on video game life support, or anything you'd like me to just do a review on, let me know in the comments below. Thank you again for watching. Catch you next time!